Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents G.I. Joe Tuesday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Target exclusive G.I. Joe Classified Series number 98, Python Patrol, Tele-Viper, and Flight Pod. Let's get into it! Let's begin with a look at the packaging, and here we have on the top G.I. Joe Classified Series, and the G.I. Joe and stripes are embossed. Then on the front we've got some nice practical looking photography of the figure and accessory. In fact, there's several of them going on there, and the mine is, I'm not sure what the mine is doing. Did they throw it? Did it jump? It doesn't really show. There's no exhaust to it, so I don't know. So anyway, right here it says Python Patrol. Then over here we have what I'm guessing is a nice digital render of the accessories. And then some artwork of Python Patrol Tele-Viper. And then G.I. Joe Classified Series. And again, G.I. Joe and the striping is embossed. Classified Series, Cobra, Tele-Viper, and Cobra Flight Pod, Trouble Bubble. Warning, don't stick things in your pie hole that do not belong there. 4-and-up Hasbro print. On the bottom, small print, fine print, legalese print, made in China print, symbols I'm not going to learn, and a barcode. On this side, we've got nice artwork of the Python Patrol Tele-Viper G.I. Joe Classified Series number 98. On the other side, the stripes from the front continue around. They're still embossed. And then we have Cobra logo. Then we have Tele-Viper right here, number 98. Got a QR code. You can scan it if you want to. It probably doesn't take you to anything except for shop.hasbro.com. And then number 98. And then here is his skill set. I don't want to say file card anymore, but there's his skill set. Then finally on the back, number 98, Cobra Tele-Viper and Flight Pod, Trouble Bubble. And the figure stands 6.3 inches or 161 millimeters. And then there's nice digital renders of everything, including the package. The Trouble Bubble stands at 5.8 inches or 148 millimeters. And then there again is the skill set for the Tele-Viper, and then there's some close-up of some stuff that's going on. And then at the bottom, attention! Especially don't stick things in your French pie hole. Warning, attention, Octone. Don't stick things in any other language pie hole that don't belong there. And don't give it to babies. Parents, GIJoe.com. Small print, fine print, legalese print, made in China print, Hasbro print. And that, my friends, completes our look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure, the vehicle, and the accessories. And first up, we'll start with the accessories. And here we have that Dr. Mindbender hose. At least that's what I like to call it. It does have some nice molded detail in there. It's got the coupling on each end with a port in it. And, you know, it functions. They can be a little stiff sometimes, but you can heat them up and fix that. Next up, we have the Tele-Viper's weapon of choice, I suppose. And it does have a port in there. I suppose you could use something like the cone-shaped blast effect, maybe, with that. And then it's got a post down here for the hose. And it does have nice molded details. I guess that's the handle up here on the top. And, you know, it looks nice. It works well with the stuff, and the way it works with the hose is the hose just plugs into the port. Next up, we have handy dandy tweezers to help us take a look at his sidearm. And it's one of those, you know, it's an older figure, so he's got one of the Nerf guns. There's no port in the end of it. And it's got a few molded details in there, molded in the colored plastic. Here's the Tele-Viper's backpack. It does have some nice molded details in it. Turn it upside down, it's a beehive. There's a post right there. There's an antenna right there, and there's a piece right there for the gun to attach to the backpack. A post. I say piece, but it's a post. So there are some nice molded details in there. Lots of buttons and knobs and stuff there. Maybe some switches up here on the top. And it's got a little bit of molded detail here on the backside and a post. And the way this works with the hose and the gun, hose ports into the bottom, and the gun, the post right here, goes through the trigger guard. Not probably the safest way to store stuff. You can do it like this. You can probably switch it around the other way, but I find it works better this way. But who knows, maybe I just may be full of crap. Yeah, it really doesn't want to go that way for whatever reason. So there, I forced it anyway, so there it goes. But I think it fits better this way. Yeah, it does, because this knobby piece right here gets in the way when it's the other way. So I suppose that's the correct way, and I was doing it right all along. We've got two more pieces for the Tele-Viper, and one is the Caucasian head, and he's got some nice red goggles there and a nice bright helmet and some communication equipment on said bright helmet. And you know, same head that we've gotten before. In fact, it's the whole set is the same as what we got before, just different colored. And this one was cheaper. So here's the African American portrait head sculpt, whatever you want to call it, and it's got those same beats as the other helmet. I actually think that one works better on this figure than the blue ones. Oh, one more accessory here, and it's the mine, the flying mine. It's got a port in it right there. Maybe a little blast effect to fit in there. And then it does have this panel that comes off like the original, where you can see the inner workings. It's all molded in black plastic. This has a caution tampo on it. And oops, bottom goes in first. There we go. So it's like that. It's not quite as big, and it doesn't install into the flight pod like the other one. So let's take a quick look at the Tele-Viper real quick. And overall, you can see, you know, the upper half of him is very brightly colored, and it's toned down a little bit by this overlay vest, and it's got a little bit of belt color going all the way around. And then he's got like the grid pattern on his pants. It's got a little bit of paint apps right here and here. And then the head sculpt on this one, this is like the full face mask one, and this one is on there because this is my son's figure, and this is the head he likes on there. So the much more technologically advanced one, I guess. So it's, you know, it looks nice here. It's got that same detail around, and then it's got some like VR goggles and a face mask on it. The arm piece has some tampos on it right here, a little punch of color on the hand. Then he's got the Python Patrol logo here, and that pretty much covers the deco on him. Let's talk about his articulation. He can look up that high, he can look down that low. He's got chicken neck, he's got waggle, he's got a little bit of attitude. He can do the full exorcist, butterfly hinge excuse me, at the shoulder. back that far, forward that far, 360 degrees of rotation, and this one will only raise his arm up that high. Cut at the upper bicep, 360 degrees of rotation there. Double hinged pinless elbow gives you that much bend. 360 degrees of rotation at the wrist. It's a trigger finger hand, but up and down hinge, or in and out hinge rather. And then the other side has in and out hinge as well. I think there's a standard Marvel Legends style ab hinge in there, and then he's got the half dumbbell or ball joint there at the waist. And in conjunction, they let him lean back that far. There I go, bumping the camera. He can lean forward that far. He's got some hula. He has a 360 degree waist rotation. He can lean left and right a little bit. At the hips, he does have a pull down hinge. It will allow you to, or allow him to give you almost the full splits. He can kick forward that far, which is past 90 degrees, so that's really good. And then back a couple of steps, so that's really good as well. Cut at the upper thigh, 360 degrees worth of rotation there. Double hinged pinless knee, and it gives you that much bend. At the lower shin, there's a boot cut for another 360 degree rotation. And then at the ankle, tilts down that far, tilts up that far, and then it does have a pin for rocker. Now, as far as how the figures accessories store with him, the pistol goes in his thigh holster, and once you get the backpack put together with the weapon and everything, it goes on his back. You can make him hold it in his hand. He can put his arm through the hose if, you know, that makes it look better for you, or, you know, whatever you need to do. And then there's no storage for the heads and no storage for the mine in the trouble bubble. Now let's take a look at this one real quick, and I'm gonna say this, and it's been out for a while, so this was Target exclusive. It was cheaper than the standard release, and it seems like it's got more deco hits than the standard version, which makes sense with this one being Python Patrol, but it really stuck in everybody's craw a bit when it was cheaper than the standard version. And I understand there's probably some math behind that. Target probably had to have it at a specific price point, and Hasbro had to do what it could to hit that price point, and that was probably charge more for the first release of the Flight Pod and Tele-Viper. So, I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying it was right, but it seems like that's the most likely case. So on the bubble, it's got this readout here, heads up display stuff, and that's pretty cool. On the inside, again, look at all those app hits or paint hits, tampo hits, whatever they are. Deco hits, we'll call them that. And then, of course, really brightly colored seat belt. And then this part is very brightly colored too. We've got some eyes on both sides of the control yoke painted on because, it's Python Patrol. And then we've got some black here and here and over here. And then there's a few down here like sensors or something. The gun, it's on a ball joint. It just pops on there, so you can twist it left or right. It waggles a little bit. It goes up and down a little bit independently of the yoke. And we have these steering fins here. We've got this nice paint app here, or deco hit. It might be a tampo. And it's got some letters and some writing and stuff on it. And then the other side had some of that as well. Then we move back to the engine part. And you can see it's got the Python Patrol logo. It's got this tampo on it. And then it's got the same stuff on the other side. It's got this bright hit right here. And then the articulated steering pieces. Now I know y'all heard that thud. And what that is the biggest design flaw with this vehicle, and it's this piece that holds the missile. It does not like to stay in, and you just as well to glue it, unless you're going to buy some of those sets to upgrade it or whatever. But you know, it is what it is. So we've got a port in the back of the missile for a blast effect, like maybe one of those little cone ones. And other than that, it's just a brightly colored missile. It's got the wishbone in there that attaches to this. It only goes one way. There's a large piece and small piece attached in the middle, and it only goes one way. And this part only goes one way as well, and it just sticks in there. And as far as this piece goes, it really ticked me off that there's no, it doesn't plug in anywhere. I've seen some, I may have even done this myself, plugged it into that port on the back of the gun just to say there's storage for it, but it really doesn't stay very well when you're on the ground. As you can see, it just came loose, so it's kind of just a loose piece. Oh, we also got these nice bright rotors right there. At least I guess they're called rotors. And then the canopy is like a translucent red color, and the base of this is mostly red. So there you have it, my friends. You can see this is warped a little bit, but that's a look at the Python Patrol, Trouble Bubble, and Tele-Viper. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have the Target exclusive G.I. Joe Classified series, Python Patrol Tele-Viper with Flight Pod, with the classic colored G.I. Joe Classified series, Tele-Viper and Flight Pod. Here we have the Target exclusive G.I. Joe Classified series, Python Patrol Tele-Viper with Flight Pod, with the Valaverse Action Force Special Deployment Series, Swarm Sentry, and the Valaverse Action Force Scarab. For our final set of comparisons, here we have the Target exclusive G.I. Joe Classified series, Python Patrol Tele-Viper without the Flight Pod because it wouldn't fit, with, from the Marvel Legends series, making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee from G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander, from Star Wars The Black series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and for a 7-inch scale comparison from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final ramblings on the Target exclusive G.I. Joe Classified series, Python Patrol, Cobra Flight Pod, or Trouble Bubble with Cobra Python Patrol Tele-Viper, first off, I'd like to say thank you to my son, Digital Cave Boy, This is his piece, which he was gracious enough to let me cover. I passed on this one because, you know, Python Patrol for the most part just isn't my thing. I got some of the troops and stuff, but I really didn't feel the need for the flight pod on it. And, you know, after having looked at it when it was on sale, I kind of regret that a little bit, because the deck on this is actually nice. Even if it is Python Patrol, it's really, you know, it can be, well, not the reds, but, you know, the rest of it's kind of brightly colored. But I think overall it's a nice looking piece. And as I stated before, you know, a lot of people were ticked off over this one. You know, it was cheaper when it first came out than the original, the regular release. It had more deco hits on it, but they didn't improve anything on it. But when you look at the time scale of things, the original release and then this release, you know, they were pretty close together. And so I think that's why there were no improvements, like the pieces that stick out that hold the missiles that really needed some help. And then my original release Trouble Bubble and this one, I also had to shave down the tab on the dome where it clicks in to the rest of the flight pod. I had to shave it down just a little bit in order to get them both to fit properly. Now, another thing about this that you know, and this goes back to the original as well, there's really no storage in this. There's a lot of empty space inside the Trouble Bubble that could have stored the mine. It could have stored the Tele-Viper's weapons, or whoever happened to be operating the vehicle. It could have stored their weapons, you know, like behind the seat, like the seat hinges forward and then there's storage back there, or, you know, a pod on the bottom that opens up and there's storage in there. But it's not. And then again, going back to the original release as well, you know, just the mine itself. It's nice that they gave us that piece, but it doesn't really work like the original did. It doesn't plug in and make it like a drone to go off flying into places and, you know, causing some damage. So, and I mean, that didn't really ever make much sense in the grand scheme of things anyway, because, you know, I'm sure Trouble Bubbles aren't cheap for Cobra to produce and to use. So, you know, so maybe that's why they didn't do that, and they just put the piece in there as a reminder, but no storage at all for it. And that really kind of sucks. But so I think I've hit on everything. I think this is a nice piece. It just wasn't a piece for me. It's just, for the most part, it's very gaudy. And I know they have another version coming out soon. Is it like the Crimson Guard Trouble Bubble or something like that? I'll look at that one. I may pass on it as well, because, you know, I have the original. That's the one that I'm partial to, because it has that more, you know, first release flavor from a real American hero, and that's really what I'm looking for in Classified. It's taken me a little while to realize that, but, you know, I'm wanting that nostalgia factor, and I don't really care about new characters. There's a few characters that I'm probably going to pass on that I had when I was a kid, like Raptor and Crystal Ball. Not, you know, my favorite characters. I may, if I find them at the right price, I may end up picking them up. But, you know, as far as it being a need to complete my collection, no, I don't need those figures. I don't need this piece either, because, you know, Python Patrol was a little after my time with G.I. Joe. Well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I'm now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you'll be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.